My name is Pitsila Hilabak, and I've been working for the government for a long time. Nearly retired, just kidding. Maybe a few more years. I've been working at Department of Health for that's the department that I've been working for a long time. And my career started most likely as community health representative. I went 10 months training for that, and I was a CHR for a long time, and off and on as health promotion officer in the previous years, and um, territorial CHR coordinator, most likely in the CHR field for a long time. Now I am doing regional wellness program coordinator at headquarters in Pangnirtung. I'm originally from Timirot and been living in Pangnirtung for a long time. I have 4 boys. I'm married to my husband, Alan. Yeah, and I've been working with Amy for a long time too. So thank you.
So, hi everyone, I'm Amy Coffey. I'm sitting right now at the Nunavut Research Institute in Iqaluit in Nunavut, and I'm working here right now as a research associate. And I am actually what I studied in school was nutrition and public health and nutrition mostly. But I've learned about country food really from Pitsula and many others, community health representatives across Nunavut, from hunters and elders and families, and talking with people about what they eat and what they like to eat. So that's where most of my experience has come with country food and where I learned about polar bears as well. I am actually originally from rural Ontario. So my family are of European descent in rural Ontario, have been there for the past maybe 150 years. And I am very lucky to live in Iqaluit with my family.
I'm Inuk, and our knowledge is still being practiced right now, but my parents grew up with dog teams and some still igloos being used, and Inuit knowledge is our country food, traditional clothing, and teaching one Inuit to another about their tradition. And I love country food. It's very much part of my diet. And if I don't have it for up to a week, I'll basically get sick, or like my craving gets really bad. So country food is very important to my diet. I learned a lot of from my parents about how to prepare them, what to eat and what not to eat in parts of the animals that are harvested in our land here in Nunavut.
So during my time working in Nunavut, over the past 20 years or so, I really have learned about country food from people who eat country food and like it, and who share it with their community. And really, when we talk about country food and talk about the animals and birds and plants and that make up what we consider as country food, um, I think one of the resounding messages that I've received is that country food is more than food. So it's something that through the work that Petula and I are involved with, we've explored this a lot, in particular, the perspectives of country food and what it means for Inuit women in Nunavut. And what we know is that uh, Inuit women in this region are very much talk about the importance of country food that's beyond just nutrition. So I think when a lot of us think about some kind of food, we think about it, filling our stomachs, giving us, vitamins and minerals and things like that. Um, but when we think of it, and indeed, country food does that. It's a very rich source of nutrition. We know this. But when we hear people describe country food as something that feeds more than their stomach, so something that would feed their body. Some people speak about feeding their soul. People describe country food as uses as something that is important for medicine. We hear country food described as mm, bringing people feelings of comfort and warmth and home and connection. So these very uh, really strong feelings that people have that are associated with country food really go beyond what food and physical food might provide. So this is what I've learned through talking with people about country food, that it's much more than just having food. And I think that um, the knowledge of Inuit that goes along with preparing country food, with preserving it, with things like fermenting country food or drying it, aging, cooking, all of these things that are involved, and all of that knowledge that goes with being able to eat country food is very critical. And that's a lot of the focus of the work that Petula and I are involved with, is supporting sharing of that knowledge, because we know that country food knowledge is critical to continued use of country food for not only physical health but also mental health, and these many other ways that people enjoy and use country food for their health and well-being. So we know that country food in Nunavut is associated with improved food security and improved nutrition. So when people eat country food, on those days they eat country food, they're more well nourished than on days when they don't eat country food. And this has been shown across age groups as well. So for younger children as well as for adults, which is a pretty phenomenal thing when we think about where we want to get our nutrition from to support our health and well-being. And something like country food is so because it's so connected to both physical well-being and to mental health and well-being. um, it's it's one of those things that from my where I sit as someone working in public health and nutrition, I think about the importance of that food for not only supporting mental health, but also supporting physical health. Right now in Nunavut, we think a lot about chronic disease and trying to prevent chronic disease from happening, and also to manage chronic disease when people develop that. And we know that across Canada and in Inuit Nuangat, chronic diseases like diabetes and cardiovascular disease are a concern. And so when we see something like the optimal nutrition and the that's provided by something like having country food available, this is a very powerful way to support healthy eating and well-being.
For our well-being, it's very important that we continue to eat um, our country food and having access to it, even though in some cases it's not so much available to others, but it's still quite available. And as Inuit, we like to eat as family in a group, and food makes us happy, especially our country food. For example, my mother, every time my dad would go out hunting, if he was successful in getting seal or caribou or fish, ptarmigan, all the foods that when he goes hunting for a certain animal, when he comes home successfully with country food, my mom's well-being, my mom's behavior would be like, tagape, yeah, very happy, and you wouldn't want to see her disappointed.
So when we talk about country food and Inuit knowledge and food sovereignty really is something that we're speaking about, which is having control of one's food source and of one's food system. And when we think about that within Nunavut and within Inuit Nunangat, I think one really important thing is to look to what Inuit representative organizations have to say about that. So when we look at, and I would recommend everyone read the Inuit Taperi Kanatami food security strategy. And when we look at that strategy on which is a guiding document of how food security can be addressed within Inuit Nunangat, really country food is central to that and access to country food. And furthermore, what is central to accessing country food is Inuit knowledge and the knowledge that goes along with that food system. And this is also discussed in organizations like the Kikitani Inuit Association, who wrote about food sovereignty and harvesting and talked about the importance of Inuit knowledge and skills associated with country food preparation, preservation, harvesting as being critical parts of that food system. So I think that this is very much something that that Inuit organizations are saying to people perhaps outside of Nunavut as well and outside of Inuit Nunangat to prioritize food sovereignty, country food, and Inuit knowledge, and these all of these documents that I just mentioned are describing how those things come together. And, much of the work, again, that Pitsula and I are involved in is supporting community knowledge sharing around food knowledge, and specifically around country food knowledge. And we also talk about things like the role of climate change in that, and women's perceptions and understandings of climate change. Even we talk about things that are important to support that, support Inuit knowledge sharing, such as young people being supported to be engaged in harvesting activities, and so funding to programs that support, say, young hunters and others to be able to harvest the food that they want to eat. So all of these things really contribute to this topic when we talk about food sovereignty and people actually having the food that they want to eat and that is important to them. It's not like Inuit knowledge is not something that is added to our program. It is the foundation of our research program and of an entire knowledge system. And one example from food that is and a really important one is when we look at aging of food. So people enjoy food aged in many ways. Walrus is aged, seal is aged, fish heads are aged. So many different foods are fermented and aged. And this is all Inuit knowledge that goes to supporting the safe consumption of those foods and the safe preparation and preservation. And so having the knowledge of what to do, how to take a food that's just harvested and preserve it and prepare it over, say, aging is one just really good example because it's such a complex process, and one that, if not done properly, can have some negative outcomes. Most of the time, it's done very properly, and that is Inuit knowledge that guides those processes. So really the basis of our research program is that Inuit knowledge is knowledge that's critical to support country food consumption and food safety. Grounding research and priorities within community priorities, in my experience, is very key. And one only needs to look to the National Inuit Strategy on Research, which outlines how research is expected to be conducted in Inuit homelands. And that's a very important guiding document and guiding philosophy of how research should be conducted. So throughout our research, we are striving to meet the objectives that are in the National Inuit Strategy on Research and work with Inuit organizations to ensure that things are happening in a way that's appropriate and that is expected and that is welcomed.
Uh, for for my thought, I think our government needs to do more communicating about Inuit knowledge. Um, that's my thought. Um, and non-Inuit audiences, to non-Inuit audiences, even to Inuit, because our younger generation are learning a lot of modern ways of living. So there's challenges, and so I think communicating through elders about Inuit knowledge, I always say is urgent.
So often within health and environment research, we know that research methods like storytelling and things that are generally thought more to be social science methodologies and methods, you know, I think what we've learned and what is definitely increasingly apparent is the importance of storytelling to inform things like health, environmental understanding, climate change understandings. Definitely in the area of food and nutrition, storytelling is a very big part of that. And storytelling is something that communities where Petula and I are working, storytelling is something people were interested and wanted to have happen. And what we've learned, and others have learned, is that there's very much a role for storytelling, sometimes called oral histories, or other ways of talking one-on-one with people. And often these are termed as qualitative research methods, which are very much support Inuit knowledge sharing. So I think there's a really important role for qualitative methods to inform health, not only human health, but also environmental science. And that's something that happily we receive funding for. So some funders are into that. And I think really as we can show how these are rigorous methods and they actually are what communities would like to be involved when this kind of research people do like to be involved in, and that's very important. Um, when we talk about a lot of environmental and health research, it's very frequently quite quantitative, so a lot of numbers. And sometimes the qualitative research is what's needed to understand what those numbers mean. So it kind of tells more of the story. And that's definitely um, when we talk about country food and Inuit knowledge to support country food use and food safety and food sharing. Storytelling is really at the root of sharing that knowledge. Sometimes storytelling and other qualitative methods are described as understanding things that cannot be measured. And I think when we are speaking about the importance of Inuit food systems and importance of country food, and the sharing understanding about how to keep country food safe, how to what parts of an animal should or shouldn't be eaten, um, what parts are for men, what parts are for women, what parts are for children, the knowledge that goes along with seasonality of foods, of cooking and preparing and butchering methods and aging methods, all of these things, all of this knowledge associated with country food systems really is Inuit knowledge, and sharing that through storytelling is something that our research group is very happy to do and motivated to do. One example is we often have a session or a cooking session where we're actually maybe not even cooking, but a session where we're preparing food. For instance, how one cuts up a whale tail to have for food and all the things that you can do with a whale tail, cooking mukta, aging the mukta, all the things that happen in between. And this is a story. We often use video to document that. We use audio recordings. Then people tell stories about what that means in their life and how that works in their community. And every community might do it differently. They might have a unique story for their community. So storytelling is really opens the door to so much knowledge that is really critical when we think about major issues that we have, like climate change and food safety in a changing climate, and how that impacts food security. So these are very big public health problems and challenges. And I think that storytelling is really meeting those challenges and supporting Inuit knowledge to be a solution to those challenges.
I think what we're doing with this research on country food is a very good step and the right way to informing researchers, informing everyone, because it's very important, because we don't, how can I say it? It will be in storytelling, it will be in short video clipping where um, each or all people could view, and this is something that is going to teach everyone basically. And even if it doesn't teach the elders, they enjoy watching these kind of things because it's Inuit knowledge. Um, I know my dad is an elder. He's an elder now, and he loves to still watch Inuit knowledge or Inuit videos and all that. So I think what we're doing is very positive, and I'm always so excited about it. And this is one thing, like in research area that I've enjoyed.